Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in this fine world of ours. Welcome to the Divine Mess, and we are episode 34, I am guessing. Oh my Lord, not sure where the time has gone, but I get to catch up with my gorgeous co-host, Curdy David Perriman, every Tuesday, sometimes on a Wednesday, sometimes on a Thursday, but mostly every Tuesday, to have a chat of all things divine energy and whatever has just basically been on our mind. And for 2024, we had decided to invite some cool, interesting people onto the podcast to have a little bit of a chat with us. And my good friend Sharon Brown is all things astrology and feng shui and essential oils, and as she calls herself, a witchy poo woman, which makes my heart sing. So it's such a pleasure to have two really great humans to have a conversation with today. So I will boot over to my co-host, who will just give a quick blurb about himself, and then we will allow Sharon to have a little chat about herself, and then we'll get started with all the fun and frivolity. So let's go.
Oh, thank you for this introduction, team. Like every week we show up. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We have decided to open our doors and our couch, I would say, like to invite someone else on our couch. And as we have a few guesses that came in like for the past few weeks. So that was interesting conversation that we had. And for those who are listening in for the first time, I'm Kirti Deva Perman. I'm the CEO and founder of the Heroes Mystic, where we help you to fight your inner demons, find your heroes as well on this journey. And every week, I show up with my co-hosts on this divine mess that we call life. And today we have the pleasure to be accompanied by Sharon Brown. I don't know much about her, so I'm going to leave the floor to her so that she can introduce herself. So welcome, Sharon, to our episode. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
So take it away, Sharon.
Take it away. Okay, buckle up. I actually say now that I'm actually in my crone phase, where I've always loved to share knowledge, but it's become really, really stronger now with all the years, many years of experience and knowledge and learnings and courses and workshops and so bringing it all together of all the different layers of what I've learned in my journey of as Kadadeva said is the journey of life. So I'm a master of Feng Shui. I'm a qualified clinical aromatherapist. Got interested in aromatherapy first because I always was fascinated by health, well-being naturally. I know that it was very much the past life witch in me, which I didn't realize at the time. So I quite often call myself the Whoowhoo Witchy Poo. The kids love it. I've got great nephews and nieces in it that just love the fact that I'm the white witch. But so the journey was aromatherapy first. Then the journey led me, and it was just sheer synchronicity that I found and discovered Feng Shui, and I honed that skill. So both of those I've been doing for about 30. Well, my daughter's 30 now, so it's about 30 years. So that I've been doing Feng Shui. Love all the different layers to it. I love human design, a bit like Tina. It's juicy. There's different layers to it. My intuitive gifts, which I've really started to sort of unfold and really get vocal about, I guess, being that authentic instead of hiding, as I've been told recently. So yeah, that's probably my journey, and I just do. I love helping people. I love, reaching into that massive toolkit of resources that I can help guide people of all ages. Like recently, I seem to be attracting parents with kids that are indigo kids, or ADHD, or autistic, which is pretty much the spiritual side is the indigo, the rainbow, the crystal. But yeah, and tapping into the Chinese astrology side of it and what's going on with that. So just layering it all into one is probably the biggest thing. So at the moment, full on in full flow with the Chinese New Year about to unfold. Many exciting things going on with that. So I don't know where you want to take it. So what do you want to do? What do you want to know?
Everything.
Everything. We haven't got that long.
I'm really curious about, like, because your journey, like, it's really interesting. I don't know if Tina had a question, but I was wondering, like, if you can tell us, thank you, Tina, like, if you can tell us a bit more, like, how did you discover Feng Shui and what brought you, like, you talk about your intuition skill as well. I'm curious, like, what were the calling for you to, like, really listen to it?
Experience has taught me to listen. I believe everything's for a reason, believe very strongly in karma. I did grow up with them. Well, I didn't know at the time until I was an adult that my mum was very spiritual, intuitive, and had to hide it and everything else. Mind you, she became quite a different kettle of fish, but she was a fantastic learning about narcissism. But again, from those experiences, we're able to help others to navigate even those things. But I guess realizing that I could see spirits at a very early age, driving my dad nuts because I felt there was things under the bed. There was also all of those things of, as I got older, still seeing them, the fears of, and realizing later in life that they were past life traumas, of, being burnt at the stake or being drowned or things like that, and having a terrifying sort of experience of walking on a jetty and not understanding or comprehending, it's just so unreasonable in a conscious world for that to be so terrifying. So yeah, I think experience has taught me to listen to my inner voice. I know what happens when I ignore it. Usually, I always say to people that what happens is if you don't listen, that tap is going to get very big and very loud to the point where it'll be a 4x2 and it will slap you big time. I think my biggest one, I was very drained. The cup was well and truly empty. I had burnt my adrenals. I wasn't listening. And I ended up in ICU. I had an operation go terribly wrong. They didn't realize till 3 days later that it had gone terribly wrong. They had actually perforated the bowel during the operation. And yeah, so I've almost died 3 times. I'm not done. I have still got shit to do. So I've learned through experience. If you don't listen, it will get louder and it will knock you on your backside. The other thing also is, again, experience has taught me there is always something beautiful, wonderful, bigger, better on the other side of the crap. While you're going through it, you don't see it at the time. You might be sitting there going, why me? It's like teaching people to take that pause, step back and trust that on the other side of that is something bigger and better, and there's a reason for it. And it's usually the universe knocking you off the path that you're currently going on. You think you're going to go this way. You might be determined. You might think you've got full control of it, but the universe will always go, nah, you need to be going this way. You've got to trust it. So it's a case of, I think, past life imprints and experiencing life. I mean, I've turned 60 last year, went through my second Saturn return. That was fun. In my Chinese astrology, I went through a couple of years, the last couple of years, I went through double penalties and clashes in my chart. But that forewarned, forearmed is a massive thing as well. Knowledge is power. There are so many. There's not one modality. I learned that through experience as well. There is not one thing's going to fix all. There are layers, so many layers, and what works for one person might not work for another. I've dabbled, I've experienced, experimented. Even in the different schools of Feng Shui, I've always experimented with each of them, and that's how I learned to layer and be able to give my clients the best optimum result is layering the different modalities, but tuning in intuitively as to where they're at and what it is that's coming up, that I'm being guided to be able to go, you know what, I need to use this resource, I need to resource and layer it and give that. But yeah, I think that answers your question.
So if people are interested in dipping their toe in the water when it comes to Feng Shui or the Chinese astrology, where do you recommend that they start? Where's a good place? Because let's face it, you can jump on the internet and you can, most people wouldn't even know what to put in Google to find out, like something's popped up and they've gone, oh, that seems really interesting, but they're not sure what the questions are to ask. So would you recommend they would start with astrology first, or would you recommend that they start with a good old huck out in their house and get their house laid out right? What would you suggest?
Sometimes it's intuitively. I mean, I teach Feng Shui from the absolute bare basics right up to practitioner level, and I've got them all over Australia and overseas with my students. But it's a case of going, most people are looking for something that is going to improve their relationships, their wealth, their health. I always start with health, because to me, without the health, you can't have the wealth or the relationships. So usually people, if they're wanting to sort of dip their toes in, that'll be the reasons for it. So it'll be to be able to improve, like, my relationship with my partner's not going well. We're always fighting. We're always arguing. I don't know if he's the right one or whatever. It could be I'm getting sick all the time. I had somebody in my healing room last night, and it was very much a case of going, I'm getting sick all the time. I'm drained, etc. So it's a case of going, they're usually the catalyst for somebody to look outside of the box, the square. And I'm going to go on a side tangent. That is going to get so much bigger and stronger, that pull, for people to look for outside of the box resources, because we're about to enter a new 20-year period age, that we call it an age or a period in Feng Shui world, that is going to see spiritual practices, intuitive gifts come out. It's going to be magnified. It's going to be stronger and stronger. So we're going to see so much more. I keep saying to people, it's a bit like when the gay community came out of the closet. The Whoowhoo Witchy Poos are coming out of the closet. So we're going to see a lot of that happening because of this new 20-year period, the age of 9 it's called, is that's one of the things that we're actually going to see is such a big increase, which it's about time as far as I'm concerned. So as in answer to your question, that's the reason why people will start wanting to know more. Then it'll be a case of they'll want the basic things. Now, there are at least four different schools of Feng Shui. There's your form school, which is very much your physical things, like your mirrors, your plants, your furnitures, your elements. It'll be things to do with mirrors, TVs, all of those things, your physical things. They're what we call a stagnant school of Feng Shui, okay? They will make a difference. I mean, that's where I started. 30 years ago, I first started, we just moved out, and it's so funny because my mum, who was really out there, she was hard work. And very rarely did she ever give praise. But it's the funniest thing, when I started to dabble in this by reading books at that time and starting to make places, my life was so bad. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. We were living in a house that by Feng Shui things, I actually refer it to in my talks, the house from hell. It had everything wrong with it. We were almost bankrupt. My little girl at the time was very, very sick all the time. My relationship with my husband was so bad. It was really, really bad. So what we did was we dabbled again at that point, and I'm all into all of this sort of stuff anyway. So I started with just the form school of just placing things and putting things in different things. And then the next layer would be the Bagua school, things like the North sector is to do with the Korea sector, and putting certain little pieces into place there. Sometimes you wouldn't even know that it's Feng Shui because of the fact that you don't want it looking like a Chinese restaurant. Nothing against Chinese restaurants, by the way, love it. But it's that whole thing of just subtle. They don't have, in Feng Shui, we don't do clutter. If you've got so much clutter, my mum was a hoarder. So it's a case of the energy becomes very stagnant. Even doing the decluttering and removing that stuff, you're actually shifting that stagnant energy. So just starting to do the simple things of, doing something in the North sector for the career, doing something in the Southwest sector for relationships, doing something in the East section for the health sector, just doing those small things, you start to see a shift. And we ended up shifting things around where we actually even tried to sell this house and we just couldn't sell it. And then 12 months later, after learning and getting more knowledge, I mean, in human design, I'm a 5/1, so I'll research the nth degree of everything that I pick up. I can't just read a book. I've got to really go down the rabbit hole. And being ADHD, which I was only diagnosed last year, a couple of weeks before my 60th, I have to know everything. So it's learning that within 12 months of just putting those simple things in, we put a house back on the market. We ended up having 2 offers on the table at the same time, different time to what we've got now. And also we ended up with, I think we sold it for about $40,000 more than what it was worth back 12 months prior. That was a difference. And my mum was bragging to her news agency that how her daughter was this Feng Shui master. I hadn't even done a course. I just read a book, and they're all of a sudden deciding that they need me to come in and turn their news agency around to make it more profitable. I'm just going, whoa. So listening to the signposts from the universe, I took it to the next level of learning, finding a master of Feng Shui is now a grandmaster. Just going from there and learning the real complex schools of Feng Shui, like flying stars, which is the building's energy. It's a bit like the birth chart of the actual building. And then Chinese astrology, which we call either, you'll hear it referred to as either 4 pillars of destiny or Bazai. And that one there, the Chinese astrology is the Bazai 4 pillars, is very much about the person's horoscope, astrology. And a lot, it's funny because so many people say, well, I was born in the year of the, well, we're coming up to the year of the dragon. I was born in the year of the dragon. It's like, you've actually got 4 animals. You haven't just got the one animal. Otherwise it'd be very lonely. You've actually got an animal for the month of your birth, the day of your birth, and the hour of your birth. And that creates, and that's why I fell in love with Feng Shui, because there are so many levels to it and complexities to it that for me, it just sings to me. And people will actually be, and that's what I was talking about, is it depends on what a person's drawn to. I've got students that absolutely love the flying stars component, but they might struggle a bit with absorbing and taking in the knowledge of 4 pillars. And then I'll have some people that will be the other way around, where they absolutely thrive and just love, 4 pillars, Chinese astrology. But there's, again, even the layers of 4 pillars of destiny, it's about, the different pillars, layers, different pictures of what your career is about, what your home life and your house of spouse is about, and what your personal health and well-being is. And then you've got your year 1, which is more or less to do with your colleagues and your friendships. So it's like I explained to people, you all might have all gone to school at the same age and be born the same year and all be dragons, but you're not all the same. You've all got different qualities. And that's where all the other animals or the other pillars come into play to give a different layer. And then you've got the luck pillars under that are in 10-year luck pillars. And you can transition into those that'll give you different things. And then you've got stars, and yeah, it's a rabbit hole, which I love because I've got 2 rabbits in my chart. So that magnifies all of that part as well. So yeah, does that answer your question? I'm rabbiting.
Oh, no. It's great because I'm a little like you, like I get a taste of something and then it's like, tell me more. How can I add, it's just that bank of knowledge, isn't it? It's a toolkit of the different things that you have that help navigate the next season of your life. These things don't get plonked into your lap for no particular reason. Like you were saying before, that you've got to be aware that the universe is giving you a gift. It's like, here, this is what you need to know about. Go investigate. I'm not going to give you the Tiffany's box with it all wrapped up in a bow and plonked in your lap. I'm giving you a little taste, like you've gone to the bakery and you've had a little chocolate eclair, or you've had a little piece of cake, or you've had a little bit of something. I'm giving you a taste. Go and see what it feels like or tastes like to have more of it.
And that's what introductory to Feng Shui that I do. It's giving you a taste. I love giving people, I'm a detailed person, and I love giving, and I love simplifying. And Feng Shui is one of those modalities that can be very, very scientific, very mathematical, very analytical. But it's a case of it's very complex. And a lot of people out there, especially, I think they made it so complicated with the teachings of it to make it unavailable. And it's like, my theory is, I do not own this knowledge. You go back to the Dark Ages and ancient times, knowledge was handed down because otherwise we lose the traditions and the customs if they are not passed down. So to me, it's like, I do not own this knowledge. It needs to be shared, not only for it not to be lost, but for people to improve and benefit. You know, it's you get people that get very, oh no, I'm not going to give you. It's a bit like, you know, sometimes grandma's recipe. It's like, oh no, I can't share that. That's a secret. That's a secret. And it's like, but then she goes, like we're all going to, and it's lost.
It's gone.
So
Well,
it's
that's it,
gone
isn't it?
forever. I mean, we've got my mother-in-law. She was an amazing, she was just a heart of gold. She was lovely. I got on better with my mother-in-law than I did my own mum. But she was so giving, and she had this particular recipe, and we kept saying to her, write it down. And she's, I just throw everything together, and it's like, but we're going to write it down. And it's kind of like, got to a stage where she couldn't remember because she hadn't done it for so long, and the recipe was lost. Fortunately, the universe, with synchronicities, and I'm great at manifesting. I'm really into all the manifesting as well. We were in the UK on a holiday when we were in York at the old train station thing in a cafe, and I got this cake, and both my husbands, we took a bite into it, and it was like, it's the cake. It's the cake. And so it was like, we went up and I said, we've got to find out. We've got to find the recipe. And my husband's going, but because my husband and I are very chalk and cheese. He's the yang, he's the black and white. There is no gray, ex-military, blah, blah, blah. And I'm the woo-woo, floaty. It'll be fine. The universe will think, right.
It's all good.
Cracks me up though. He doesn't believe in when I'm going to sort of dive back. It was really funny because when my mum actually said how wonderful I was to her news agency and I could fix this news agency, I did actually go in with my limited knowledge and actually said to them, please understand, I am not a master at this. I need you to know, being a rabbit in my chart, and two of them, integrity is one of our highest values. We could not do anything that goes against the grain to save ourselves. We just cannot do it. It just doesn't work. So I had to be very, very honest and upfront with him that I'm not a master. I haven't done formal learning. He went, don't care, just do something. So we did. And then we found out that they ended up they sold the first division winner. And I was so excited about the fact that I had a little bit to do. I mean, at the end of the day, they took action. I only passed the knowledge. And it's a bit like what you do. It's like we can only be, I always say we're the conduits. We are the conduits in order to share the knowledge, to give them the resources. At the end of the day, they're the ones that's got to take action on it. So he took action, kudos to him, and ended up with about 4 or 5 in the end, because when I got my formal learning, I actually did learn I went over East, I learned under a master from Hong Kong. I went over several times, got my certificates and everything else. So I've got proper formal learning. And it was a case of I went back and we did it all with the flying stars and everything else, put everything into place. And it was like it went through the moon. And then later I did Chinese astrology and I said, you're actually going to sell business. I can see it for the, because with all of the flying stars and Chinese astrology, you've not just got the fixed ones, you've also got annual ones and monthly ones, and you could even go daily ones. So it's a case of going, that can shift and move and change. And that's probably why I love flying stars and 4 pillars of destiny so much, because in life, nothing ever stays the same, and it shouldn't. It has to move. It has to be fluid. Otherwise you become stagnant. You don't learn, you don't grow. So yeah, but my mum I ended up doing this thing. But the first time I did this news agency and they told me that they had the first winner, I came home, or my husband came home from reserves, and he said, I told him I was so excited. I said, I had something to do with that. And he looked at me deadpan and he went, if you're that good, why haven't we become wildly successful? Why didn't we win the lotto? It's like, it doesn't work that way. It was like, and that was his answer to it. It was like, oh, but you know, obviously we've our lives have, well, we sold the house and got a lot more for it. So yeah, it's learning, it's sharing that knowledge, it's being able to, I love it, I really do, and making a difference in people's life, especially when it comes to their health and well-being, that and their children. I love children, I love kids, and seeing this emerge massive. I mean, it's been happening for a very long time. I mean, I'm also a qualified education assistant, and because I knew my daughter when she was born. She's my only child, miracle child. She was born 3 months prem. And I knew the minute she was born, she was an old soul. She was doing things in that little incubator with tubes coming out of every place that she should never have been doing. And the nurses are sitting there going, no, you're not supposed to. So I knew right from the word go she was an indigo child, and learning and going down that rabbit hole and working out how to parent an indigo child to be able to draw out the best of them, because that's their superpower. They have got an enormous amount of gifts and love, and if it's nurtured. But I saw what it did when it wasn't nurtured with you know, I've got family members, nephews and nieces, at the impact that that's had on them. And my heart absolutely breaks at seeing how suppressed, even in the education system, and how suppressed these beautiful souls that are here to take us up to the next dimension and level for mankind to evolve and grow. And they're being suppressed. And it's like parents have, you know, there's so many parents that just don't know, and they're frustrated and they're upset, and how to navigate and to because it breaks their heart to see their children doing things that is going down a very, very bad path. So it's, yeah, Radio, your turn.
Well, come on, Mr. D. Surely have you had any experience with Chinese astrology or Feng Shui, or have you dabbled in any of that?
In Mauritius, we are like every year we wait for the prediction of, there's a lady who come on TV, like she tells the prediction. She's a Chinese lady, and she give the prediction for the whole year. And so I'm used to the Chinese astrology, but I didn't know about the different animals, like for your specific month and specific day and specific hour, because I'm a dragon. I was born in year of a dragon. So I'm really curious to know more about that. Like, where can we find more information about that? Because there's so many questions that I can go, you know, like from what you shared, because it's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually, it's funny, one of my best school friends was from Mauritius, and I used to love going to their place and trying all the different Mauritian food, and because I just love trying new things and cultures and things like that. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And it's funny that you mentioned about the fact that, you know, she was Chinese that was given the predictions for the year. The funniest thing is when I go to somebody's place, they go, oh, you're not Chinese. I went, oh, no, I'm not. So a lot of people get a little bit sort of like, yeah, it's like, oh, aren't you supposed to be? No, anybody can learn this. There's nothing really that special. Well, there is. We're all unique, but you know, we've all got the gifts. But yeah, we're actually, every year I put on a year of whatever the animal is, a seminar. This year I'm actually doing a webinar, which is a whole new world for me, on the 3rd of Feb. And I'll give you the links and everything else for that. And what we do is we go through about what the overall elemental sort of things of because the year of the dragon that we had 12 years ago isn't exactly the same year of the dragon predictions that will be for this year of the dragon, because it's got a different element sitting on top of it. So you will either have a yin or a yang of one of the 5 elements of wood, water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. So it'll be one of those. And this year that we're coming into, although the dragon is an earth dragon on its own, we've got the yang wood sitting on the top. So we talk about what does that mean for the characteristics of each of those elements, and then the characteristics of the actual dragon. So do I have your permission, Mr. D, to actually sort of explain to you, because you've divulged that you're born in the year of the dragon, to give you a little bit of a snippet of what just a couple of things.
Yes, please.
Amy, go for it, but I like to get your permission.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, obviously I don't have the other components, but
Yeah.
when I do the year of the dragon, well, we've also added to it as a separate thing that we do your personal guidance reading, which I include your own specific annual year of the dragon chart, as well as your 4 pillars and how that's going to play out as well, because you've got to layer it, as well as a little bit of the human design and what people are sort of trying to navigate for the coming year. So we've got the personal readings, and then we've got the Year of the Dragon webinar. The Year of the Dragon webinar is very much about the overall things, but I also include the flying star component of it and templates for each of the directions, the 8 directions. So it's like a report for each of your front-facing homes, houses, businesses, because you can apply it to your business premises as well, and what you need to put in place for each of those directions and areas. We also layer the Bagua school and what the annual flying star influence, how it's going to play out with those. So for instance, let me give you an example, and I will come back to the Chinese astrology side, because I know you're excited about that, is for instance, if you've got the flying star, annual flying star 9 over your at a particular area, like your front entrance, that means that this year that front entrance is going to be rather prosperous, because of the fact that the 9 represents actually shifting, so it's going to represent current prosperity. So that means that the money will come in. Okay, and then we actually go, okay, if you want to activate that and strengthen that, why wouldn't you? This is what you need to put into it to activate it. And it'll be something so small, so subtle that people coming into your house may not even see that you're actually activating a prosperity annual flying star. Okay. So that's sort of like what we include. We also include things like the environmental things that are going on. It could be things like, for instance, there's more than likely to be earthquakes, volcanoes, because of the earth component of the dragon. So there's drought because we're lacking the water. There is water in the belly of the dragon. But yeah, there could be, we're going to experience some droughts this coming year. So there's the environmental component. Then there's the actual sort of like so this is where we're coming down with a little bit about the dragon person. So dragon people want things yesterday. They won't do things. Team is giggling. They don't understand why everybody else just does not get that. Why can't I have it yesterday? Why? So but the thing is, a great thing, like you've got all of the 12 animals, have got their light side and their shadow side. And it's not good and bad. To me, there's no such thing as good and bad. Your shadow side are things for you to learn in this lifetime to navigate and improve upon. That's just all it is. You've been born at this particular time to be able to sort of go, oh, I need to improve on that sort of side of things. One of the great things about a dragon is they are usually very good in business. You know, they get on with it. The other thing about the dragon, and this is the interesting thing, if you've got the dragon, I've got the dragon in my chart. My dragon is in my hour pillar. So that means in business. Now, if I had the rabbit in my hour pillar, which it's not, I wouldn't be, my business would be very different. Rabbit people in their hour pillar tend not to be that great in business, okay? They get too scattered because we like to have plans A, B, right up to Z, because we can be scattered. We can be very analytical. So it doesn't mean that doesn't play out, but it just means in my hour pillar with having the dragon there, it plays out that I want my business to succeed and I want it now, if not yesterday. But the other thing with the dragon is they want everything on a grand scale. It can be very ostentatious. We're not going to do things by small. We need to do it big. So it's like that's what's showing up as far as my business. Now, because of where it's placed for you, it's to do with your friendships, your colleagues. You like to go in really big and be that sort of like, you're probably very generous in your friendships and you're with your colleagues, because that's the dragon nature. You know, they're the golden scales type thing. They're prosperous. They try to be prosperous. It depends on what's on top, what's in the rest of your chart. But you will go all out for your friendships and for your colleagues. So that's how it plays out. Now, with the year of the dragon, it's very much a case, and because it's in your friendships, the dragon's actually going to be in self-penalty. Okay. Now, out of the four sort of stars that are we'll call them unfavorable, there is the least to the clash, which is really tough. Okay. And where it is in your chart is where it can actually play out. Okay. So for instance, not last year, the year before, I had the clash animal, which was the monkey, in my month pillar. Now, my month pillar is, or everybody's month pillar, means their health, their well-being, their personal. Okay. I was so sick. I had so many health issues. It was a real tough year. Okay. I also had some other things that was in the pot in my luck pillars as well. But, you know, the dragon's got the self-penalty. That is not as severe. It is the least of all of them. It's irritations, frustrations. That's what a self-penalty is. Okay. Now, that self-penalty is very much a case of, because of where it is in your year pillar, it'll be relatable to your friendships. So you're just going to have some friends that's going to irritate you, probably because you want things yesterday or you want to do something really big and they don't want to. So it could play out in that way. So yeah, and the months that you need to be mindful for is definitely going to be April and October. Okay. So yeah, I mean, even for the when I do the webinar, it's about the political side and how that's going to play out in the world. You know, even sort of like that dragon and the yang wood. See, yang wood, part of what we've got what we're coming into, is very much of stubbornness, determination. So when you've got that with the dragon of wanting everything yesterday, being in a hurry, it's a case of going, that's going to be felt with our world leaders. Now, I haven't charted our world leaders yet and seen if they've got any of the stars in it. I will have by the time I do the webinar. It's like, yeah. So yeah, that's the things that we do. And obviously I also do the personal guidance readings, which incorporates, I do an hour and a half because like I say, it's not just one modality. I like to lay them to give and intuitively sort of go, what does this person really need for them to get the best outcome to navigate their year? So it's about that. And they talk as well, and I get a feel for what they're hoping to do this year and whether it's going to be a good idea. I did a young this poor girl, she got bought in, her mum bought it for her as a gift and rocked up at our door. It was a surprise. She had no idea what she was in for. And she's looking at her mum, she's looking at me, she's never met me, she doesn't know what I do, she doesn't know who I am. And we ended up going through this, and she was like gobsmacked, but she was very downhearted and lost because what she was wanting to do had been pretty much taken out from under her. She had lost confidence. What she wanted to do was off at that time. And it was a case of realizing through her charts and everything else, and intuitively, it was a year for preparation for her, not for doing. But I did say she will be doing. And 2 years later, it was in December, just gone. Her mum came over to me and she says, I've got to show you something. And she showed me a photo of her daughter on the other side of the world at her graduation, having graduated from her degree that she wanted to do 2 years ago and that she thought was not going to happen. And at a university that is, world renowned. So yeah, it was that. And she said, it was to you. And I went, no, it's not. I was just the conduit. That's all I was at the end of the day. And I love it. So yeah. So we've got the Year of the Dragon, we've got the personal readings, and we layer all the different things. Health-wise, it's a case of looking at what they've got going on in the chart. They may have things that's going on annual flying star wise. And obviously with my knowledge in health and well-being, the emotional dis-ease and what they create physically, what's going on, and certain, I had a clinic in a medical center 29 years ago, which 29 years ago, this stuff was like so off the planet for doctors. But it was so funny. They actually referred clients to me as a clinical aromatherapist with people who had severe issues. So it was a case of going, that was unheard of 29 years ago for a doctor to send over for ailments that I could use my essential oils and blends and knowledge. And there is a big difference between just dabbling in essential oils and being a clinical aromatherapist. I had to do a year of anatomy and physiology alone. So it's very, we had to go out to the wet labs and, look at the cadavers and, know where everything is. They certainly didn't complain. So yeah, it's, yeah. What else do you want to know? I am here. Use me.
Well, it's just fascinating, right? Because David and I have always had this, like when we met, it was one of those things of like, oh, there you are. Hello. One of those instant type friendships. And I'm a 74 birth, so I think that makes me a tiger from memory, I think.
Oh, I should have got my book.
It's no stress. But, for me, it's kind of just interesting as to what provides those sorts of instant, it's like that magnetic attraction, and you're trying to explain it to people that, yes, he's a man and yes, I'm a woman, and no, it's not like that. It's just one of those very intense friendships. So I've been really interested to see what his chart's like versus what my chart
Yeah.
is
And we
like.
actually get, I've had many people, like I've got an accountant, he's from Malaysia. Now he's been a client of mine for, I think it was 2 years after I first became fully fledged sort of master of Feng Shui. And it was a case of, like I've done three of his buildings, shifts that he's done for his business, his accountancy firm, up and down Hay Street Mall and to St George's Terrace. But whenever he has, like he gets his maintenance done every year on the dot, he's got his order in real quick, and he's got new staff. And he'll send through their date of birth, and I'll chart them, which way do they need to be facing, which desk is the best for them. I'll get asked about which day is the best day to get married. You can work out things with the Chinese astrology component of being able to chart politicians to the day that they actually have their election to find out who's going to win. And I've not been wrong yet. I don't make a big song and dance about it. It's just like, oh, this is fascinating. And I'll put it in my, out to my community. And it's like, they will always come back and go, it's fascinating.
Get on, Sharon.
She's right again. Husband hates that, I'm sure. You were right. Say that again. What was that?
Pardon. Let me hear that once more.
But it means I believe that there's a layer of thing. There is not one thing only that attracts people to another person, non-sexual relationship or otherwise. I believe it's really weird in a lot of ways. Like in my Chinese astrology with the year, the animal wise, my husband and I are actually, we're very well matched. Even in Western astrology, we're very well matched. Now, I'm not as au fait in the Western astrology. I love it. And I know my sun, moon and rising. And you can see even this 20-year play out, the 20-year change, you can see that in Western astrology as well. But in his element, him and I are actually not, like my daughter, we're actually clash animals. But we are so close. We get on so well. We are both very intuitive, very spiritual, and we bounce. I mean, we're talking about starting up a podcast where we've got that younger generation and that older generation, and how we can bring that together and help younger people and even more mature people to sort of, be able to have these amazing conversations that need to be happening between the generations.
Yeah.
We've both generations have got so much to give to the collective to move us forward. So it's fascinating. But even though that we are a clash in our Chinese astrology, it's like, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to have that. I know within my absolute DNA, my cellular, my spiritual level, that Shayla and I were in past lives, and that can be that attraction as well, that we shared something in a past life. So to me, and that's why I used to, and it just wasn't, to me, it feels so much more in alignment to be able to layer all my different skill set, to be able to sort of, whether you're matched or you're not matched, it's like I can tune in, I can work out that, okay, on chart, there may be something a bit with, and this is what it's going to relate to, but there's something there. And sometimes it can just be that you are meant to meet that person to take you down a path that you may not have been. And I remember saying to my daughter when she was at high school, and she was going, oh, I want to be with it, I want to be with this person after they left. And she was prepared to think us, and it was, but Shayla, you are going to meet other people. There are people that come into our life, our orbit, some for a short time, sometimes for a medium time, sometimes for a lifetime. but they all have something, a reason for you to cross their paths. No matter whether it's for short, medium, or long time, that there is something there, whether it's for you to pass something for them to grow, or for you to learn something from them to grow and nurture and be. So it really is. It's like, yeah. So I believe that's, yeah, so there probably is. I mean, I'm more than happy to have a look at your chart, because it just
Well, you know, it would be fascinating, I think, to see how, even though I would expect spiritually aligned, like we think along the same levels, there are things that he's very brilliant at that I am just not. And there are other things that I bring to the table in the friendship that, you know, it just kind of makes for a really nice balance. Like I don't expect him to be like me, and he doesn't expect to be like me either. So
yeah,
you know, that's where it's good. And even my partner, you know, will say to me, "How's your second husband?"
yeah,
And you know, so it's nice to be, I think it's really nice to be able to have those types of friendships where everybody has a very clear understanding of what they bring to the table, and it doesn't have to be that age old that men and women can't be friends. I think we have proved that in spades, that you can have friendships with the opposite sex and it not be an intimate relationship, you know. And a bit like you say, I mean, who knows in a past life what it was, but there is definitely something there for us now, that there's something for us that we need to achieve, you know. And obviously by doing the podcast, it gives us an ability to talk to a lot of different people and to share our knowledge, and to be able to just be that, like you say, that ripple in the pond. Is it just enough for people to go, oh, maybe I need to look at it a little bit differently, or maybe I could look at their perspective instead of, you know, thinking all about myself and how I feel and how I'm impacted. So if we create just enough of a ripple effect that we allow people to start moving and thinking and dreaming in a different way, then we've created a legacy for, you know, for our time on the earth, right?
And we are we're going to see a lot more where it is going to be so much. It should have been accepted years ago, but you know, with one of the things that's also coming up with the change of the period, the 20-year period, is the feminine is going to rise up. And I don't mean gender. That's got nothing to do with it. It's, yes, we may see more female CEOs, presidents, premiers, whatever. We are going to see more of that, but we're going to see more of that feminine energy. And a lot of that feminine energy is about having those close-knit relationships, friendships, connection, where we can nurture people and nurture and mend the world. And with what's, you know, with what we've experienced over the years, it's like with the conflicts and all the rest of it, you know, it's about mending and like you say, it's about creating that balance, because there's been such a tipping of the scale with so much masculine. Again, I'm not talking about men per se. I'm talking about the masculine energy that has been so out of whack, that now we're entering this age of 9, that we're going to see that feminine energy come thing, and that is going to see a lot more relationships like what you and Mr. D's got. You're going to see a lot more of that, because the universe will line up the people you are meant to meet.
Yeah.
The synchronicities and the intuitives of the spiritual side of what's coming is going to make that happen. There's no avoiding that. So to me, it's a case of going, yeah, oh, that's so spooky. Something just popped up and say, learn how to create a podcast. How's that for a signpost from the universe? I love it.
Yes, we've done our job today and we haven't done anything.
And do you know what? That's the other thing. Yes, you can take aligned action in manifestation. This is talking manifestation. You can take aligned action, but you can't force it. And it's not about how you manifest, what you want to manifest. It's the what and the why. Always the what and the why.
You just got to let it go, right? You got to ask and then you just pop it out, as my friend tells me all the time, because I'm a bit mental. Surrender. Just
you must have in the rest of your chart, you must have things that don't make you that want to think, because dragons aren't very good at surrendering. They like to
he likes to talk the talk, not necessarily walk the walk, right?
But it's that whole thing. There's probably, because I'm sensing, my intuitive is saying there is such a feminine nurturing energy from you. There is. It's really strong. I also feel that some of that is also your heritage, your ancestry, because the Malaysian people, I just love them because they are so nurturing, and it's the whole. And we are coming back to that too, of that tribal village coming together and helping
community,
one another.
right? It's creating communities. And I hope that, by what we're doing, we're creating a community of people that, gives them, like you say, gives the intuitives, the spiritually gifted, the people that don't quite fit in a box, a place to be, that they can feel accepted and everything's just normal. Like you see dead people, great. Tell me what they've got to say, or
Absolutely.
or if you can read tea leaves, fantastic. Tell me what mine say. Whatever your gifts are,
maybe. Yeah.
Everybody's kind of welcome. And I suppose my gorgeous friend on a Tuesday morning at 8:01, it's a good time to wrap up this beautiful conversation that we've had with the delightful Miss Sharon Brown today. And thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge. And I will be looking forward to getting some stuff done, because I'm one for knowledge. So you'll be hearing from me shortly. So as we always say, we love you. We are supremely appreciative of those that choose to tune in every week, or for those of you who have tuned in for the first time, we hope that you have gotten some golden nuggets out of today that you can take away and go and begin your own journey, spiritually, emotionally, or just intuitively figuring out what's best for you. And have an amazing week. And thank you to the delightful Sharon Brown for coming on and sharing her knowledge today, and always my gorgeous co-host for his delicious French accent, which always lightens my load every day, and for being his gorgeous space holding self. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciated the opportunity and all your beautiful energy. So yeah, thank you so much. It's been
Thanks for your
wonderful
time,
and
Sharon.
lovely to meet you.
Yay.
Thank you, Sharon. Like it feels like a short meeting. Like I thought like it would go on and on.
Good.
To delve in more, but obviously because of time. But thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You're most welcome to come on the couch again next time, maybe to speak more about the Aromatherapy as well, because you even spoke about that as well. So looking forward to learn more.
Anytime.
Take good care, everyone. And
You too.
Much love. Au revoir.